Quick movie. Hey Jake, how are you?
Rohan, happy to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
I'm a fan of your work. I love Death of Reign of Superman, so this is an honor talking to you. And I love the X-Men, so I'm dressed for the occasion. But
Uh,
so I just wanted to get started with when you when you signed on to do X-Men 97, what was the kind of like thought process behind balancing that sort of 90s influence with like our modern animation today, where it's a lot more faster paced compared to with the original show?
yeah, man, I love answering that question. Luckily, when I was brought on board, the decision to stay in that sandbox, right, to be in that '90s sandbox was well decided before I was brought on board. My job was to figure out how to make it work. How do we
Mhm.
make this work? So working in tandem with the stories, their overall vision, crafted in the Bible and the scripts by Bodemeo, and working in tandem with our in-house team, which I got to give shout out to our production designer Anthony Wu, our lead comp and artist Ashley Phillips, our lead animator Jeremy Polgar, and our lead effects artist Chris Graff. They, along with all of their teams and all of us working together, that's where the look comes in. That's everybody brings their A game. Everybody carries their weight and more to keep us what I like to say fresh but familiar, right? It's got to be the show you love and remember, but it's got to feel like the show you love and remember, but it's got to be relevant and high octane to match the audiences and the techniques of what the industry is doing today. And so a lot of it is, it was for myself, it was doing research as, what were they doing in 96 through 98? What were the lenses that they were using? How were things being directed? What was being done in feature? What was being done in TV animation? What was being done in live action? What was being done in anime? What were all of the techniques at the time, and what were the common, denominators of all of that? And then finding out, oh, when you see this, it has this. So when, X makes you realize it's a dated thing. And so, finding all of those commonalities, figuring out what those were and starting from there. And then, each of the team having their marching orders from there to figure out how to make it work. And at the end of the day, it comes down to, the leads that I mentioned and myself, us sitting in a room on a big couch, looking at a big TV for hours, manipulating, fixing, fine tuning, pushing, plussing every frame, you
Mhm.
know, and the look and the feel. This is not an accident. This is all planned, meticulously hand done from script phase, from Bible phase, all the way to final picture. So yeah, to hear that that's what the audiences are reacting to, that it's the show they love and remember, but it also is fresh and current. That's the absolute goal that the team and ourselves we set out to do.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys nail the tone, and it's so much fun, especially like when you're reintroducing the characters in the first episode. I think it's a little more, you feel that 90s vibe immediately before you settle in and start getting a little more serious, like the original show. And so, I noticed like a lot of the fight scenes. I think people have mentioned this online as well. It's like there's a lot of anime influence. I grew up watching Dragon Ball Z, so I'm very kind of familiar with this, and it feels very so. Like, how much of that was your, like your driving is like, let's make the X-Men, but let's really make the X-Men.
Right, and I love that question because too, like if you're of an era, there's Dragon Ball Z, X-Men, and the animated series, et cetera. There are just certain things ingrained in our culture, in ourselves as audiences that we've grown over 30 years. Choreography has changed, our sensibilities have changed. Gone are the days of just haymakers and uppercuts, right? Their combinations are a big thing. So when it came to the action versus the dialogue, and that's where we had a lot of fun visually. When you're on those impactful emotional moments, don't be afraid to get that X-Men '90s close up right of the eyes. Play with that character's emotion. Get in there. Using compressed lenses, for dialogue scenes, figuring out who's staged next to who. But when it comes to the action, that's when we could have a little bit more, what I like to say, hog nasty wild fun. When it comes to it, because so many of our peers and fellow coworkers and friends in this industry are just raising the bar of what it is to have a vision, the visual medium of animation. Not only just what it can do visually, but just also that it's not just a children's medium, it's another form of storytelling. And to that point, action is also another form of storytelling. So to not only just have high octane action in the show, but to also do action that further encompasses the narrative and pushes the story forward. That was also a big deal, you know, and also a big thing that the team overall focused on. And you know, again, shout out to that stuff just being ingrained in the script from scripts from day one. But you know, yeah, that's we it really is just a monumental conglomerative team effort to bring all this stuff to screen.
Yeah.
And the action is different, man. Yeah, it really
No,
is.
it turned out so awesome, and I can't wait to see the rest. But it's like, and then you also have, I think one of the criticisms of the movies was that Cyclops didn't get as much play as he deserves, and so you guys rectify. Cyclops is obviously very forefront of the show, and then there's an interesting dynamic, especially after what happens with Jean, with her and Wolverine and Cyclops, Brad, and another character I won't spoil here, but so what can you tell us, like what's kind of that triangle looking like the rest of the season, where Wolverine and Jean have this dynamic, Cyclops and Jean are going to have to redefine their dynamic, and he also has this child.
Yeah. Um, to be quite honest, you'll just have to watch the rest of the show to figure out where that stuff goes. But you know, to the core, look, X-Men is and always has been and always will be an allegory for prejudice. The minute you
Mm,
take that away from X-Men, right, it's no longer the X-Men. But also with the X-Men, it's a family dynamic. It's a found tribe. It's multiple personalities coming together, clashing together, working together, falling in love together. You know, the melodrama is thick and it is real with the X-Men. You know, and that was a real thing of the OG show, and that is a real thing of this show. From the vision of the Bible and the way Bo was writing his characters, he just understood them, understood that, and then giving us that roadmap to be able to carry that on visually and push the storytelling even further. That's just something I'm pretty proud of that. We get to work on, and grateful to get to work on with the rest of the team too.
yeah, absolutely. And there's also like this sort of there's an Easter egg in the trailer where I think it was a Daily Bugle, or there is a story of a mention of another character from a different show. Is that someone we could see this season, or is that something that you just want to throw in fun for the 90s fans to remember? Or are there other larger MCU connections people should kind of be on the eye out for?
Great question. What I will say is, look, our show, we are a spiritual successor, right? We're a revival. It's not a reboot. We are picking up right where Graduation Day season 5, ended. Yeah, so in order to be in tandem with the original show, we need to follow certain things that were ingrained in the original show's DNA. The original show was the MCU before the MCU became the MCU, right? So cameos and expanding the overall lore of the characters and side stories and team derivatives, that's all part of the show. If we want to honor the show that came before us, we should probably honor some of the things that they did in that same said show. So I would urge eagle-eyed viewers to just keep watching.
Yeah, and then you also have Storm has a really big ha pivotal scene
Mhm.
that changes kind of her journey this season. So what kind of led to because she is kind of like the heart of the X-Men. And so what was the decision behind um her being put on this path and then her journey with her family throughout this season? Because it's yeah, I'll let you speak on it. I don't want to spoil too
Yeah,
much.
no worries. Yeah. Again, luckily, a lot of that was decided well before I was brought on board. That was in the Bible from day one. Written by Bo. So, the type of path and journey the type of path and journey that Storm was going to go on over the course of this series, was definitely more than decided before I brought on board. But to get to be a part of that and to help visually elevate those facets of her journey and to help visually represent what was written in the script, or how to visually bring it all together to the end. That's something that I enjoyed as well as the team. And what I could say is we're really looking forward to seeing how everybody else watching the rest of Storm story play out, because anything else, and I may give it away.
Yeah, and I mean I can't wait to see the pin drop moments you have in the show, the Omega level thread and then the cut too. But it's such a cool show, man. Thank you so much for your time, Jake. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to see the rest of the season.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks,
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Gabby.